Do you believe in the uncanny? The wilderness has always held a fascination for me. The sheer expanse of untouched nature, the tranquil beauty, and the silence that can soothe or terrify. As a park ranger, I believed I had seen it all, but nothing could prepare me for what I was about to encounter. Each experience left an indelible mark on my soul, making me question the very nature of reality. The echo of the lost. I had just started my shift at Blackwood National Park. The dense forests and undulating hills were both familiar and comforting, but that comfort was shattered one foggy morning when I received a distress call on my radio. A hiker had gone missing. Her friends reported that she had ventured off the trail to take a photograph and never returned. I joined the search party immediately. Hours turned into a day, and the forest seemed to grow darker and more sinister. We found no trace of her. Just as we were about to call it a night, I heard it, a faint echo of a woman's voice calling for help. My heart raced as I followed the sound deeper into the forest, away from the group. The voice grew clearer, more desperate. I finally stumbled upon a clearing where I saw her, or at least what looked like her. She was standing perfectly still, her back to me. When I called out, she slowly turned. Her face was a mask of terror, eyes wide and unseeing. She mouthed something I couldn't hear. Suddenly, she let out an ear-piercing scream that echoed through the forest. I covered my ears and fell to the ground, and when I looked up, she was gone. We never found her body, and her voice still haunts me. The Watcher in the Woods. It was a calm summer evening, and I was on a routine patrol near the park's edge. The sunset painted the sky in hues of orange and pink, casting long shadows over the trail. As I walked, I felt an inexplicable sense of being watched. The feeling grew stronger, prickling the hairs on the back of my neck. I turned around, scanning the dense woods, but saw nothing. Shaking off the unease, I continued on my path, but the feeling persisted, growing more intense with every step. I stopped and called out, thinking it might be an animal. Silence. I decided to head back, my steps quickening as the forest seemed to close in around me. That night, as I lay in bed, I couldn't shake the feeling. I decided to look through the photos I had taken on my patrol. My heart nearly stopped when I saw it, a dark figure standing among the trees watching me. I hadn't noticed it while taking the photos. I zoomed in, but the figure remained a blurry silhouette. The next day I went back to the same spot, but there was no sign of anyone. The photos, however, told a different story. The figure seemed to move closer with each frame, and in the last one it was gone. I've never felt truly alone in those woods since. The whispering wind. Winter in Blackwood is a harsh mistress. The snow-covered landscape can be both breathtaking and deadly. During one particularly brutal winter, we received reports of a series of strange occurrences, whispering voices carried by the wind, shadows moving across the snow at night. I was on the night shift when I heard it. At first it was just a faint murmur, almost indistinguishable from the howling wind. But as I walked closer to the source, the whispers grew louder, more distinct. It sounded like multiple voices, speaking in hushed, urgent tones. I couldn't make out any words, but the fear in their voices was palpable. I followed the sound to an old abandoned cabin deep in the woods. The door creaked open, and the whispers stopped. I stepped inside, my flashlight barely piercing the darkness. The air was frigid, and my breath came out in white puffs. Suddenly the door slammed shut behind me, plunging the cabin into total darkness. Panic set in as the whispers returned, louder and more frantic. I swung my flashlight around, catching glimpses of movement. Shadows darted across the room, too fast to see clearly. I fumbled for the door, desperate to escape. When I finally burst outside, the whispers stopped, and the night was silent once more. The cabin was torn down the following spring, but no one could explain what I had heard that night. The vanishing campers. Summer brought a surge of visitors to Blackwood, eager to enjoy the great outdoors. One weekend, a family of campers went missing. They had set up camp near the lake, a popular spot for fishing and swimming. When they failed to check out as scheduled, we organized a search party. Their campsite was intact, with no signs of a struggle. Food and supplies were left behind as if they had intended to return shortly. We scoured the area for days, finding no trace of the family. Then on the fourth day, we discovered something chilling, a set of footprints leading away from the campsite into the woods. The strange thing was, the prints stopped abruptly in the middle of a clearing, as if the family had vanished into thin air. We searched every inch of the surrounding area but found nothing. No clues, no bodies. The case was closed as unresolved, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. A few months later, a colleague mentioned seeing strange lights near the lake at night. I decided to investigate, hoping to find some answers. I waited until dusk and made my way to the lake. As the sun set, a strange glow appeared over the water, shimmering and shifting. I watched in awe as the lights danced across the surface, forming shapes that seemed almost human. Then, just as quickly as they appeared, they vanished, leaving me alone in the dark. I never spoke of what I saw, but the memory haunts me to this day. The haunting of Blackwood. Blackwood's history is steeped in legends and folklore, tales of spirits and creatures that roam the woods. I always dismissed them as stories to scare campers and thrill seekers. But one night, I came face to face with the legend. It was a stormy night, the kind where the wind howls through the trees and the rain falls in sheets. I was patrolling the far end of the park when I saw it, a figure standing in the middle of the trail, drenched and motionless. I called out but received no response. As I approached, I realized it wasn't a person. It was a shadow, darker than the night, with glowing eyes that seemed to bore into my soul. I froze, unable to move as the shadow drifted closer. It whispered my name, a sound that sent chills down my spine. I felt an overwhelming sense of dread, as if I was being pulled into darkness. Summoning all my strength, I turned and ran, not stopping until I reached the safety of the ranger station. I never saw the shadow again, but I knew it was still out there, watching, waiting. The legend of Blackwood was no mere story. It was real, and it was something far beyond my understanding. I left my position as a park ranger soon after, unable to shake the fear that had taken hold of me. Years have passed since my days as a park ranger, but the memories remain as vivid as ever. The wilderness, once a place of solace and beauty, became a landscape of terror and mystery. These encounters changed me, leaving scars that time can never heal. I often wonder about those who venture into Blackwood, unaware of the hidden dangers that lurk in the shadows. Do they feel the eyes watching them? Do they hear the whispers in the wind? Perhaps some things are best left unexplored, the secrets of the wilderness buried deep in the heart of the forest.